Jasleen Singh. Jasleen Singh. Jasleen Singh. Akash Singh's wife was on the podcast lately. It seems like she's doing all the pods now. Oh, you know what I've heard, by the way? Big up Abba and Preach. Big up Abba and Preach. There's a clip from the full interview that Abba and Preach took out where she talks about her podcast. You know, I was mistaken, brother. I thought Akash's wife's podcast stopped because Akash put his foot down. But according to the video I watched from Abba and Preach, she stopped doing the podcast because her and her friend fell out, the other girl. And you wouldn't believe why they fell out, by the way.
With Nehal, we became friends so quickly. And I have like a lot of respect for her, and like I've met her family and like her husband and her in-laws, so I don't want to say anything shitty about her, and I won't. But I think like, you know, like the first time we went out to dinner, she pitched the idea of doing a podcast with me, and I was like, oh, okay, like I didn't expect that. And I was a little bit unsure at first just because I know sometimes female relationships can be tricky.
You guys didn't have a relationship prior to all of this?
No.
Okay.
So we just became friends like pretty quickly, and then she wanted to do the podcast, and I was a little bit unsure, but then I talked to my husband about it. He was like, why not? You've always wanted to try it. And we just became friends so quickly in this path of creating Main Character Podcast, which was her idea, which is an amazing name. And I think what happened was that we went through controversy so quickly into it that it kind of like put a strain on the friendship. And I remember her saying though in Paris, she was like, my biggest fear is getting canceled. And I remember telling her, I was like, I just want to let you know, like, I know the periphery of Akash's fan base, which is, I will say, more of the podcast fan base. And I know a lot of people during like our controversy were saying like, oh, it's because of his fans. It's because of his fans. Like his comedy fans are not like that. It's more the podcast fan base that I don't think really resonate with him, because a lot of them are like really racist and right wing. I think like those of them are more like that. But yeah, anyways, I said like those peripheral fans, like they might come at us just because we're brown girls being opinionated and they don't like opinionated women. So then the brown girl thing happened, and like we were both a little bit like shocked by it. And I know that she was definitely hurt. But we got through that, and then the next thing happened. But I will say it was more like, for me, it was more of the friendship thing, because Akash like really instilled in me from the beginning, like the friendship needs to always come before the podcast. Like it always needs to come before the product, because people are not stupid. Like they can tell if your chemistry isn't genuine, and you want it to be genuine because you want to give them a good product, and you want to feel, because when people are listening to you, you're touching them at a very close part. Like you're in their brain, you're in their ear. So I think I basically said, I mean, I haven't shared this with anyone, but I said like, you know, I really wish that you had been there more for me during, especially like everything that happened in December, because I felt like she knew the most like what it was like and everything. And I was just getting so much of it. And I don't think she necessarily agreed with that, which is fine. I think for me, like being a friend, like, and also being a Leo, like loyalty and being ride or die is very important to me. And I'm not saying that that wasn't important to her, but I think it came across differently than what I would have liked, in terms of just like wanting her to be there for me. And I don't think it's like a reflection of she's a bad friend or this and that. I just think that like our expectations weren't aligning. And even like when we had gone through other things before, it's like we also had like very, very different triggers and anxieties, where like certain things I would do would make her anxious or vice versa. So that was like the last thing I said to her. And I don't think she agreed. And I think it kind of like fell apart from there, because we didn't know how to like repair it. Because I think she was probably, naturally hurt by maybe feeling like I was criticizing her in that way, which makes me really sad because I would love to do it. And I really, really do respect her and her content and her family and her, her husband and everything. So it's like, I hope that like maybe in the future we could do it again. But like, as of right now, I don't think like our friendship is on solid footing. You know what I mean? Like, I think there was this element of like cannibalizing that I didn't like expect to get so much flack from the brown girl community. And like, even back to that whole brown girl like controversy, what pissed me off wasn't that, okay, these nobody girls are saying they hate our podcast. It's like, okay, what can you do? And it didn't even hurt me that a bunch of people engage with it. It's like, yeah, like it makes sense because hate does spread fast. But what bothered me was that Vidya commented and like basically co-signed that, and she just really had no.
According to that clip I watched, Akash's wife and her friend fell out not because she was fantasizing about fucking her husband. They fell out because Akash Singh's wife felt like her co-host, the other girl, wasn't defending her enough when she was going through that, period in time where everyone was hating her because of the clip that came out. If I'm a co-host, I'm like, hold on, you said that though. I didn't say that. You were the one that making yourself look like an idiot. Why do I have to defend you for? Deal with what you put out there. So this girl is just taps in the head. She's taps in the head when it comes to her husband. She's taps in the head when it comes to her friends. But it was very interesting to learn that Akash wasn't the person that stopped her podcast. They fell out. That's why the podcast isn't on anymore. The friend, I was like, what? The friend that she was like, interesting. But anyway, let's continue. But Akash's wife is the person who started it. She's the one that got into shows talking about her sex life. And unfortunately, because she's involved with Akash and he said other things in the past and he's been very forthright about things like this, people are going to compare and contrast. They're going to compare. Hold on, that starts to make no sense because you said this, you said that. And essentially, the girl also came off like a big cunt. It is what it is. But incels, it's like, I don't know if you're gonna blame it all the time. I don't know. I think you should blame it on the person that was speaking a little bit too much on the pods.
Receiving end of the internet in that to that scale,
Yeah.
like you were. How did you feel?
I remember because you asked me this question, like, what is it like to look at like think pieces and people analyzing your marriage and your personality? It feels weird and it feels surreal because you're like, but you don't know me. You don't know anything about me. You've never talked to me. Like, you're taking the intention of this video in the complete wrong way. And
you do not get benefit of doubt on the internet. You don't. You have to deal with the consequences of what you say based on the strength of what you say. Nobody is owed the benefit of the doubt on the internet, especially when no one knows who the fuck you are. No one really knew who she was before those clips went viral. People got to know her because of those clips, unfortunately. And those clips were taken from long form podcasts where she spoke for hours with her friend in what she was deemed to be a safe space where she could be honest. Obviously, she came out after and said, oh, it was all a joke. When I said I was hooking up with 7 guys, I didn't mean like having sex. I just meant like, you meant what though? It's all bad because you've been married a super religious guy. I don't know. Let me just let her play. She's infuriating, this lady.
I mean, this obviously goes without saying, but the misogyny was like really crazy because obviously we know it exists in our society, but to see it so rampant and like full force and just like unapologetically there, I was like, oh my God, like this is a real fucking thing.
Don't get me wrong, misogyny on the internet does exist. There is, especially within the red pill scene, there is a lack of, there's lack of duty of care to women in general in the red pill scene. I don't really understand it personally.
And I'm loyal to a default.
Pick up myself disease.
As the great Muhammad Ali said, no Viet Cong ever called me the N-word and no Iranian ever called me an incel. That quote might be a little off.
Just a little bit. Pick up myself disease. What's I gonna say? Fucking brilliant. What was I gonna say? What did she just say? What was I gonna say? Yeah, there's lack of duty of care with the red pill guys, right? I don't understand that because I feel like sometimes, I don't know, just having fun with somebody on a date is kind of fun, you know? Making sure the person that you're with has a good sexual experience is also kind of fun. It's also kind of good for your reputation to have people speak highly of you, both in your performance and just generally your company, right? I've never really understood this like misogynistic angle when it comes to red pills. It's just very strange. It's almost like the more money they get, the more success they get, the less start to look at women as, you know, human beings. You know, they just look at them as just like, you know, pieces of whatever, pieces of ass, right? But she also made it very easy for men that already hate women to hate women more. Red pillers are very anti-women, but she also made it very easy for people who already hate women to hate women even more. Let's just make that true. Or let's just make that very clear, sorry.
And it's like, it was bizarre to me because I'm like, my husband can go on stage and literally has a joke in his special about like getting a hooker isn't like cheating, it's just outsourcing, which I really don't care. Like, I think it's a funny joke, but it's like, if I say something that's equally, you know, raunchy, like then I'm a whore or all these things.
You weren't saying jokes though. You were saying the truth, allegedly at that point. Then later it was a joke. You know what I mean? You weren't telling a joke. You were not attempting to be funny. You were attempting to be raunchy, as you said, right? So there's no real, it's a false equivalency. What does him going on stage saying a joke have to do with you talking on the pod with your friend about something that kind of goes against how you guys have been brought up anyway? There's actually an element, big up Abba or Preach, one of them on the video, which I thought was really interesting. Like, you know, that could be true. A lot of people say when she went on that run and she was talking all that stuff on the pod and she talked about, oh yeah, hooking up with boys, and then later on she said, oh, I didn't mean hooking up, and then she said something like, oh, he played in my asshole, but I'm still a virgin, you know, whatever she said, right? Abba said something like, he thinks, because I guess from where they are in Canada, they probably got a lot of experience dealing with Indian and Pakistani girls. I think he said something like, he'd get the feeling that she was lying anyway about the whole thing. She was wanting to seem cool and like edgy by saying she did all this stuff, but she actually didn't. She's actually a big prude, which might explain why she's so like weird with a cast when it comes to kissing. I was like, that could be true, you know. I could see that. There's an element where I could see that she just made up that whole fucking narrative about being this, like, you know, about popping my puss, all this stuff. She just made up to appear that she was like cool, when really she's probably just as dorky as Akash is, but she just looks different, you know. She doesn't look maybe visually as dorky or as lame, but she's just trying to appear. But then imagine that though. Imagine all that stuff you said it was a lie and it was a way to kind of make yourself look cool, which failed, and then you end up making your husband look like a cuck, and you make his whatever respect he had from men completely goes away, and that ruins his reputation, and then hurts his earning potential, and then which hurts you as a family. You know, it's like this woman.
When it's like, but the reality is what the reality is. It's like, I was a virgin when I met my husband. We lost our virginity to each other. And I never made that a part of my identity. I only shared that because I share my life story because I'm...
That doesn't make sense though. Akash said that that's part of his identity. That should be part of yours too, because you allegedly came into it virgin too. Most people don't care. He spoke a lot about it. He spoke very highly of this woman in a way. And then went for her, so hold on. Why is Akash speaking so highly of this girl that sounds like a THOT? She may not be, but she came across like that. It's like, you're kind of an extension of him, extension of you, especially if you come with, I don't know, it's just a bit strange to separate.
An overshare. Y'all made it a part of my identity and then used it against me. I don't give a fuck if I was a virgin or I wasn't, or if my body count was 100, but it wasn't. Those are just facts. So if you want to take like tongue-in-cheek videos and make it into something it's not, like, that's not really a reflection of me, that's a reflection of them. And I think moreover, what people don't realize, like, I don't even want to say his fucking name, but this fucking loser whose name you said, like, he was on the Flagrant podcast like 5 fucking years ago. And my husband just humbled the shit out of him and basically embarrassed him because he was like, I think what you do is corny and it's not really helping men. So there's that.
He did. That was 5 years ago, though. He did. Akash and fucking Andrew Schultz did completely tear Myron and Walter Weeks apart. They did. Fresh and Fit, they tore them apart. But that was also 5 years ago. Most people probably don't remember it. Myron did. Myron remembered. He kept that anger in him. He kept that fury in him, and he got his revenge. And I have to say, I think Myron did more damage to them than they did to him. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think people expect much from Myron. I mean, you know what you're gonna get with a Fresh and Fit guy. You know what I mean? Don't expect much from him. I think he might have hurt them more than Akash and Andrew tried to hurt Fresh and Fit. He definitely did. Because at some point, if you're Akash and Andrew Schultz, you're kind of punching down if you're trying to scold, attack fucking Fresh and Fit, you know? You're kind of punching down a little bit. But he definitely destroyed or put some doubts in their marriage, you know? It really affected them personally. Affected them as a family. I mean, it did real life damage to them. She can probably put his face in it, but talking about it, she does. Coming from the background, she comes back from. There's no way she got out of that unscathed. You know, something happened behind the scenes that we don't probably ever be aware of.
And I think every year he would try to like bait them by being like, oh, you guys are pussies or you guys are this. But then every year that clip would circulate. And I think deep down it really embarrassed and humiliated and emasculated.
Yeah, big up Asad Aziz. I thought it's a great point that Abba has made, that there is a spirit to chastity and celibacy that she doesn't represent. Exactly. People that are actually virgins in adulthood, you can just tell. The way they carry themselves, the way they talk, it's very easy to tell. You won't be surprised. Like, it's very easy to tell. It really is, because like, but then again, nowadays people make up their own definition about stuff, which I kind of love. I love the chaos and the just nonsense of it. I mean, like, I'm a virgin, you know, and it's like, what? Like, I didn't have vaginal sex. It's like, that's not how it works, though. But people just make up their own definition. I love that that's a thing now. People just decide what they are, you know.
Him. So when all of this first started, it was like very clear to see that there was like a lot of bot farming as well, and I could tell there were bot
farming because they were saying the same things. What about if a lot of people agree that you're a piece of shit?
Bots, because like the 1,500 followers I gained on Instagram, I immediately lost like within the span of 2 months. So it was like up and then down.
I gained a lot of subscribers because of all the controversial stuff I was saying on pods that went viral. I then lost those subscribers over 2 months. That proves they were bots. How does that work? Surely if you lost them over 2 months, that is proof that they were trying to stick with you. They were trying to listen to what you had to say. They were maybe some people that, hold on, she might have something good to say. She might be interesting to follow. Then they all en masse unfollowed you because you're fucking boring. And you're annoying. I don't know. Wow. They came really quickly and they left very slowly. That's why they're bots. And
then like all the nastiest comments on my Instagram videos that I didn't even delete, like a month later, it was all no. So it was like, it was starting to become clear that there were like a lot of bots. So I think he had like a score to settle, but instead of like doing it like a man, he did it like a little bitch and like came at me. So, which I never really thought anyone would.
Okay, let's say that's true. Let's say Myron used her to get to Akash. You also helped him though, because he wouldn't have no material if you didn't say what you said in that pod. Again, no accountability.
Because it's also like, if you have a certain like ideal of like, you don't want women working and you don't want that, like, wouldn't I fit your ideal? Like, I'm relying on my man.
You took too much. You only fit the ideal because you took too much, essentially. And your talking could hamper. No, talk about. You say a lot of dumb things. Not talk about. You say a lot of dumb things. You do a lot of dumb things, which could potentially hurt your husband's ability to make money, which is what she cares about the most, right? She cares about the money and material things and having the soft girl lifestyle. you're not making it easy for him to provide you with a soft girl lifestyle when you completely contradict everything he said about how you guys met. Everything he might have said about what he was first attracted to you. But you know what I mean? Whatever the story was, even if it's not true, as a couple, you have to come to some sort of like agreement about how you present yourself in public, you know, even if it's not true, even if it isn't true that you met this girl on the fucking busy London street somewhere, it was not, whatever the story is, you have to agree to it, you have to sell it, you know. And this girl wasn't really selling it well. She was talking about hooking up with guys in college, popping the pussy and wanting to fuck. It's like, this doesn't sound like the work of a girl that was saving herself from marriage, you know. I'm not gonna
and to provide for me. So I don't know. I just, a lot of their logic is backwards to me. But yeah, the whole experience was like very weird and unsettling.
I just don't know, when will she ever leave us alone? She doesn't even have her own, like, again, but it goes to show you just how fucking head over heels in love Akash must be with this girl, man. Because I didn't know that bit in the Ab and Preach video fucking blew my mind, bro. I didn't know that she stopped doing her pod, not because Akash said no more podcasting, you're hurting the fucking family brand, you're hurting the business. She stopped it because she fell out of her friend. And she fell out of her friend because she felt like her friend didn't defend her. It's like, bitch, you're the one that got them in trouble. You're the one that got probably her in trouble too with her own family. You know, it's like, my co-host wasn't defending me more in public. You're the one that made the fucking podcast hot for the wrong reasons. You probably affected that woman's real relationships or her family issues. And she's like, I don't know. This lady is just, she's off the reservation, mate. She's fucking off the reservation. That's the truth about it. She's off the reservation.